Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today we've got a Blood Death Knight review video. It's a 13 Tyrannical, which, in all honesty, up front, I've watched this video. I actually did I commented on the entire thing, but I had the game sound too far up. To my ears, it sounded okay, but when I went to go edit, the game sound totally 100% drowned me out. So we're going to be doing this in a shorter video. It's going to be a smaller key review. I am going to hit on all of the points that I talked about in the longer one, which is not going to be made available, sorry. But you're going to be getting the same information just in a condensed format. Please, everybody, like, comment, subscribe. It goes such a long way. We've blown past 2,800. We're getting to 2,900 so incredibly quickly. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Let's keep that going. I'm just honestly flabbergasted and blown away. Thank you so much. There's a Patreon link down below for all the support. Thank you for all my new patrons as well. We're getting to a point where we're going to have to start putting them on the screen. Thank everybody for doing that. And there's a key review video link down below. It's a Google Drive link. You can upload a video to YouTube, or you can upload your video directly to that link if you would like to get some coaching done. If you'd like to continue any conversations that I have here as well, Discord link down below and my Twitch link down below as well. So let's get into the coaching. The first part is kind of the setup, right? So you have talents. Now, like I said, I watched the entire thing and I did the commentary on it already. You didn't proc Purgatory once the entire time. This is something in lower keys where you can go Bone Storm. I know if you look at like Subcreation and all of the top Blood DK tanks, they're all running Purgatory, but that's because the level of keys that they're doing, it's needed, right? Because they might proc Purgatory a little bit more often than you will in lower keys. In lower keys, I do suggest Bone Storm, adding some nice damage, and especially if you don't need Purgatory, but it is a comfort pick, and it's not a wrong one. I do need to make that clear. This is not a wrong pick if you feel like you need it, but in lower keys, you can go Bone Storm and pretty much be fine. We are not going to be focusing on the Sanguine Depths run itself as per dungeon and mechanics. This is going to be more strictly on the Blood Death Knight play itself, because in a couple of days we're not going to have Sanguine Depths anymore, so it's not going to matter as much or at all as this goes. I do have to say you have great instincts for tanking. And you rolled your defensives very, very well. A couple of routing issues, but that's here or there. That does not matter. You got 100% through the dungeon, and you were fine. I do suggest going Kyrian for keys, though. The amount of free runes that you get from Shackle the Unworthy as the Kyrian Death Knight ability is absolutely crazy, and was going to help you increase the uptime on your Dancing Rune Weapon significantly. And how you do that is you go into a pull, you set yourself up, Dancing Rune Weapon, you get your 5 Bone Shield stacks, Death and Decay if you need it, if it's procced, Blood Boil, and then you Heart Strike until you got nothing left. You immediately pop Shackle, and then you just Heart Strike again, and you see your rune bar just fill up with free runes. You're doing that while extending Dancing Rune Weapon significantly. Very, very, very strong. And it's on a very short cooldown of 40 seconds if you're pulling around mobs and packs. So it's a lot of damage. It's a lot of Dancing Rune Weapon uptime and things like that. Now, this key is probably the most amount of coaching that I'm going to have to do here is based on dungeon preparation or just preparation in general. So if we pause here, your UI has several redundancies. And you have 2 weak aura packs, as in one here and one here, that are all telling you the same thing. You have runes, you have runic power. The only thing this one's giving you that you don't have is your health. So what you can do is you could probably remove this top one here, or the bottom one, whichever one you'd like the most or least. Move these target bars, so your health, you can move this down here. You can move that down here as well. And you have more information given to you in one nice little spot. And you're removing a lot of redundancies and views on your screen. Lastly, you have this here. Now, throughout the entire run, this drove me insane. This is how much how much percentage you need before going down to the third boss. This actually drove me nuts. Because you also have this here, right? You have it twice. You don't need it, and especially for how important it is for tanks to have as much of a clear view screen right here as you see my mouse kind of going down. I'm kind of worried about the game sound here, so I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. So you need this viewpoint and stuff like that. And bringing up viewpoint again, your camera's so close. I know Sanguine Depths is like the worst dungeon to be kind of saying this, but bring your camera back as far as you can. The more that you can see, the better that you can shot call, know what to kick, stun, etc. Camera view is super important. And I know as we were doing this run, there was definitely a hard time with some DPS that were not performing well at all, but that is what it is, right? That kind of just, you can't control that. You can only control your own play. For this here, this is positioning frontal. This is one of the things that I actually did want to bring up. For the mist callers in general, mist dancers, see how you're leaving those echoes of all of the echoing thrust kind of around? You're losing a lot of space by consistently moving and things like that. Plant yourself in a spot when the echoing thrust starts going off, sidestep out of the way, and then go back to that spot. Because as long as you are in control of that frontal, you're leaving plenty of space for everyone to kind of move around and stay healthy. And this is actually, I think it did clap one of your DPS, because you lost a lot of space. But the big thing is your UI. You're losing so much viewpoint here from having all of this. I like how you're tracking a lot of stuff. You could actually remove how much stuff you're tracking, right? Like, for example, you can go in and pick and choose what spells. You don't need to track the Rogue Crimson Vial. Like, Kidney Shot, arguable. You really don't need to be tracking his attack power buff. Like, that's not really super needed at all. Keep to the point of what you need to be worrying about. Big defensives, big cooldowns, if you're kind of planning your route around whether or not you have, like, you know, keep 1 or 2 big cooldowns on there. Like, if you have this this Ventier Mage, you want to know if they have Torment up, or if you want to know if, you know, your healer has Convoke or things like that. Keep the big stuff up, but there's a lot of things here, like whether Swift Mend is up or not super needed. You don't need to be tracking this, and kind of picking and choosing what you have. Like, I think this is the Corpse Exploder for the Ghoul. You don't need to be tracking that. It's fine. You're going to save yourself a lot of space on your UI, right? To be able to really get that going around. And as we were going through the dungeon, another thing that I noticed is you seem to be focused a lot on your Bone Shield stacks staying at 10. There's a lot of times where you hit Marrow Rend at 8 or 9, like 7 or 8 stacks of Bone Shield, and you're effectively losing just an absolute ton of dancing rune weapon time, where that really doesn't need to be the case. You don't need to do that, right? Especially with how self-sufficient BDK is. Keep yourself above 5 Bone Shield stacks at all times. See here, you just hit Marrow Rend twice. This is the perfect example. Let me go down here. You have 10, so here, okay, let's go down. Boom, boom, boom. You have 10. You hit Marrow Rend. You went down to 9. You kicked. You hit Marrow Rend again at 9. Now, that's not needed, right? You don't have to keep Bone Shield stacks at 10. You can keep, as long as you're keeping them above 5, you're gaining the ossuary bonus, which is all you need. So, kind of start tracking your Bone Shield stacks a little bit better, and let yourself get down to 2 or 3 or 4, right? If you're going to continue playing Necro. If you're playing with Blood Death Knight, you can let yourself get down to 2. As long as you have Dancing Rune Weapon up, you can Marrow Rend, and you will instantly go up to 10, because your 2 rune weapons are also going to give you charges of Bone Shield. So that's kind of, you know, something to think about, where you don't need to stay above 5 at all times. You just hit Marrow Rend, get up to 10, then you can Death Strike, and then boom, you have 10 stacks, and you're full health again. So really, really nice to kind of look around there and kind of work into your gameplay. But yeah, focus a little bit less on those Bone Shield stacks. They're not super necessary to keep at 10. It's just not. You want to keep it above 5. We're going to get later in the key, and as we get later in the key, your mage just keeps on dying. I know it's not fun. But we get down here with Tarvold, not the funnest time, and we're going to get down to Barilia. You turned off, and this could have been an accident, you know, fat finger, whatever have you not. You have no nameplates up above. And here we find the more redundancies in your UI, as you have the ability tracker in covering part of the weak aura package that you have, right? It's just too much condensed in one spot where you could kind of put it off to the side here and you would really be fine. You can move these kind of buffs up here or whatever have you not, and really kind of clear out that section of your UI. I know I'm going to harp on you that for a little bit. I'm sorry. But a clean UI is super important. You want to track a lot of things as a tank, yes. So which means that you kind of have to preset some things. Elf UI might help you out with this. You could probably move around the base UI and stuff if you want. Completely up to you. One of the things that I did notice throughout the dungeon as well, you really... You slept on Lichborn a lot. Lichborn combined with Voracious, which you are running, will give you 25% base leech combined, which is very, very strong. So planning Lichborn as an extra defensive, which you were really good at rolling around your defensives, but I felt like if you implemented Lichborn into your rotation, you'd have an extra defensive rotation to kind of go and make you tankier. Now, like I said, you didn't die once in this. You kept on just plowing through. You never proc Purgatory. So very, very strong. Like you have, like I said at the start, you have fantastic instincts for tanking. It's just a matter of some rotational stuff. Your camera, and this is a big thing. I have my camera set to absolute max in every dungeon that I can because I want to see as much as possible. I need to know if something gets away, what people are casting, what I need to stun, what I need to grip. All of this stuff is absolutely crazy to kind of, you know, have to track. And this is obviously a problem with modern tanking that you kind of have to kind of... It's a community created problem. But, you know, you're leading the dungeon. You're creating the route, you're leading the dungeon, so you're the one that has to kind of, you know, shot call a little bit more with pugs and things like that. It's funny because as you get into, like, higher key groups with actual groups, it tends to be a ranged DPS that shot calls a lot more, funny enough. And it becomes less and less the tank's job as they focus on, you know, threat and survivability. For Grand Proctor here, you didn't need to grab as many, you know, all of these orbs. You could have just used anti-magic shell and things like that. But they're available. You got 2 dead. You might as well keep going with it. One of the things to kind of notice, and I want to point this out right before the gauntlet, is you pulled this 3-pack, which is absolutely fine. Yeah, you pulled this 3-pack, and the Dread Binding cast... from the whatchamacallit, the Overseer, can actually be anti-magic shelled. So I don't know if you want to go look at resources or whatnot on mechanics that you can negate with anti-magic shell, because here you had to run away, making the mist colors echoing thrust be more around the room, and find yourself with less space, and to break those chains where you could have held on to anti-magic shell at the start of the pull and just not gotten the chains at all. And you did that as well with the other 2 Overseers as well. So that's something that you're going to want to stop and think about, and maybe look at resources for what anti-magic shell can negate, because it being an anti-mechanic shell is absolutely fantastic. It's really, really strong. And like I said, we're still back into this key, and you're just... This is still driving me insane, where you kind of have these 2 things going on right here, right? Little things to kind of change with the redundancies and things like that. I don't want to harp on it too much. Your rotation was fairly good. The big thing that I would change with the rotation is you seem to not be focused on Dancing Rune Weapon as a cooldown. And that's something where the true strength of Blood lies this season, is how much Dancing Rune Weapon you can have up, how often you can have it, and all of that fun stuff. And that's with as much heart striking as possible, using your bone shield stacks effectively, letting them drain down a little bit, and heart striking more to keep the cooldown running. But I love this weak aura, the Fleshcraft, you idiot. I'm not gonna lie, I love this one because it's, oh man, I don't use this enough as well whenever I play Necro in my tanks. But see this here, like, you have so much stuff blocking everything. I don't know how you see anything. And on top of that, you don't have nameplates up right now for your the enemy health bars. I don't know how you're seeing with the cast, with the kick, with the stun, and kind of where all the positioning is. Move stuff out of the way here, and I think you're going to have a lot more of a successful time. But for your play as a Blood DK, dude, you've got the basics down. It's just a matter of getting with this season's tier set with Dancing Rune Weapon and things like that. It was funny too because the blood DK, the frost DK, I think that's what it is. The Frost DK had originally grabbed the shield from you. I had a good laugh at that, and you asked for it back, and then he died, so you just took it. I thought that was hilarious. But like here, see here, you have this extraction button on top of your weak aura package of what you're trying to track. Move things around a little bit to be a little bit clearer and sparse things out a little bit. You're going to see so much more, and by seeing so much more, you're going to have such an easier time with the dungeon and the pulling and shot calling and kind of knowing where you need to go and what you need to kick and stuff like that, because that is going to be a factor. Especially me, as I pug a ton of keys, there are times where you have to do it all because your DPS just refuse to kick, refuse to stun, refuse to do anything aside from hit damaging buttons, and they're going to die if you don't, and it's going to kill the run. So, for example, Necrotic Wake, I cannot tell you how many times I have had to grip, kick, stun, CC, save my Gorfine's Grasp for drain fluids, and do it all myself because no one wants to help. And then they're like, well, you know, what's going on? I'm doing it so you guys can live. But the thing is I'm losing threat because I'm having to focus more GCDs on stuff that you guys should be helping with to be able to get it done. But at the end of the day, it's survival of the pull first. You know, live as a tank and then worry about damage. But there's nothing much. Your run here was not impeded by you. This is one thing I need you to know. Your run was not impeded by you and your play. Your run was impeded by the 2 DPS that were doing less than Season 2 damage. I think they ended at around 5k each. You had an Outlaw Rogue that was blasting, but the other 2 weren't compensating at all and were dying to a lot of mechanics. So I need you to know that your play did not affect the timing of this dungeon. It could have helped more and could have helped you go a little bit quicker, absolutely. But it's not like you were a bad tank and that, you know, you were in trouble. But yeah, so this is the shortened version, but this is all the things I said. I had to talk for like an hour with the other one, so I was kind of hitting on a lot of points really more frequently than I had to. But yeah, no, look, dude, you've got this down. It's just a matter of getting better, and putting yourself out there on the internet to be critiqued and coached takes massive balls, dude. Thank you so much for putting yourself out there and for agreeing to be coached and criticized a little bit to be criticized. But you've got the instincts down, like I've been saying. You've got good stuff going on. It's just a matter of dungeon preparation beforehand, setting up your UI, making sure everything's as clean as possible, getting your camera angles right, and things like that. For Sanguine Depths, it's okay to bring it in a little bit, but you're so close in, right? I don't know how you're seeing so many stuff. Like, see, here we stop. You don't even have any of your DPS in view, right? You can't see anything. But here you could go along with the hallway and bring it back a lot further, and then you'd have a much clearer picture of what's going on, because the more information you have as a tank at your disposal on your screen, the better things are, and the easier things are going to get for you. But keep up the good work, man. I honestly hope that you got your KSN this season. I don't know. I didn't see your IO, but keep up with it, dude. You've got great instincts for it. If you have any other questions, you can always hit me up on my Discord. I would love to hear from you, Shiar. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm really sorry if I butchered that. But thank you again for the key review video. If this is something that would interest you to be coached on keys and things like that, there is the link down below that I can that I'd be happy to go through for you guys. So have yourselves a good day. Thank you very much, and happy tanking, guys.